When did your entrepreneurial journey start?
Yeah. I think really started probably with Zogo, and that was fully by chance. So I met Bolin, who's my co-founder and CEO of Zogo, just through Facebook, through Duke Facebook. He was on the computer science page. I was like keeping tabs on that kind of stuff back then. And then like he posted, hey, free dinner to the Washington Duke Hotel, which is like the hotel where like all the rich alumni come in. When they go to the basketball games, they stay there. They like watch that. Like that's the hotel on campus. He was just offering free dinner for anyone who was interested in kind of working with him on his project and things like that. And at the time, you could use your food points, like your on-campus currency, to kind of go there. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds sick. I think I was a sophomore. I'd never been to the hotel to have dinner before or anything like that. And so I was like, all right, I'll go. And I met Bolin through that. And then 5 years later, had left Zogo. We'd been working on Zogo for 5 years together after that. Yeah, it was just kind of a wild time. But I think that's probably where it really started. Trying to think if there's like, my dad is a like small business entrepreneur. So there's kind of always that environment there, I guess. So you could probably say, I could probably say that is reasonable too. My dad had an Indian restaurant. He still has an Indian restaurant, but just a different one now. But when I lived in Utah, I spent 7 years in Utah. We had an Indian restaurant there that I would work at when I was like in junior high.
Nice.
And so what I would do is like, I would want to buy things, but I'd never have money to go buy them because like, how do you buy an Xbox if you're like in junior high? So what I'd do is like go to my parents and I'd pretty much say like, hey, let me do work so that I can have money to buy whatever I want, kind of thing.
Nice.
And I think one of the, I guess that's entrepreneurial in some way.
Did you ever look at the ops of the restaurant? Did you ever try to figure out how pricing works, how inventory works, how many customers you need through the door to break even for the day? Or were you just like single laned?
Yeah, my dad would tell me about a lot of these things, so I'd get like some information that way. I don't know if I was like super innately curious about that type of stuff. Looking back, I probably should have been. But my dad was just good about like, this is an Indian dad, just telling me about the ways of the business while I'm heating up the rice or like moving things around or like prepping things in the back house.
Knowing what you know, would you ever start a restaurant?
I've thought about it. I think like if I start a restaurant, it's because I want other people to start to love Indian food, right? Like I just want people to love, I love Indian food, and like that's why I would do it. I don't think it's like it's a hard business to do. It's just tough operationally. Like I see it in my parents, and I also like if we built it bigger, like a fast food Indian casual kind of like chain-esque thing that's like a little bit more approachable. I've considered that. I just don't know if I would do it. I feel like I've just spent so much time just kind of getting my footholding in software. It would be so weird for me to just like move not to do that. But I think it's fun. I think it could be cool. I think like I tell my dad a lot of this stuff too, is like I feel like a lot of the best Indian restaurants I've been to kind of make it almost hard for someone who doesn't know how to order at Indian restaurants to be approachable. Like it can be hard. Like there's so many things on the menu, you don't really know what to do. Like I just think there's something there, and I
makes sense.
Yeah, I want to help fix it, but I don't know if I'll have the time or
my take is, especially in the US, if I was to open an Indian restaurant, I want to do something that's fine dining. I want to do something that's an experience. Yeah. And like helps you understand the flavors, the taste, and everyone just gets vindaloo or butter chicken and like, cause they don't know what's there outside of like those 5 dishes that everyone talks about.
Yeah, no, that's a good take actually. I could see that popping off.
But then I don't know what the experience would be. Yeah, right? And also then if it's more premium, you gotta keep it so limited and small that you're always full. You never want to be a premium restaurant that's half empty. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Trade-offs. But I think Austin's one place where I've seen very high turnover in restaurants. Yeah, like stuff will open up and shut down all the time. Yeah. And so there's probably something about the business that you got to figure out by like, failing at it once. That's why I asked, but pretty cool. Going back to your journey of starting Zogo or being co-founder of Zogo, how did that come about? So you met this person at dinner. Are they like, hey, come join me? Or how do you go from there sophomore year to starting roughly 2017 or joining 2017?
Yeah, I think it's a very messy process because Bolin was also a freshman at the time. So it's like the blind leading the blind, and it's a tough experience. But looking back, like there's 2 things that stick out to me about the early days of Zogo. One is like you kind of asked around this process, like how do you know like the process of joining, like how do you kind of make a commitment there. There's that perspective from someone who's considering working at a startup, and then there's also the perspective of like a founder at the startup deciding who their early team should be. Like it kind of goes both ways is what I'd say. And it's very messy. I think like for us, there were so many people that came in and out. I think probably at least like 20 people between like wanting to work with us either in an advisory role or as like a other student in a full-time role. Also college students, like I don't know how many clubs you joined and then didn't end up working on, like that. Like there's a lot of that in college.
Shiny object syndrome, a lot of like, I like that, but I don't like it enough to like put the work in.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, there's just so many complex pieces of that. Like people are growing, like it's just a weird time. It's just a weird time to be alive when you're in college, you know, so it's just a lot of that. So like we probably had about 20 people who were between other students, like maybe even professors who were advisors, like adults who had jobs being advisors of like over weeks and months of like, hey, do we need to do this thing? Or like this person doesn't show up to meetings and it's like, or hey, this person is actively not contributing to these things, so like we don't need their help anymore, kind of thing. And so I think one of the big takeaways is just that it's really messy, and you just have to like, I think, focus in, and it's kind of the job of the founder to kind of do this. It's like really hard. I wish I could give better advice, and like you just have to be good, right? Like you just have to be like meticulous about what really matters here. It's like finding, for us, it could just be like finding parents who wanted to kind of work with us. Our original idea for Zogo was kind of like a teen debit card for kids. And then parents would buy this card for their kids, and it could help like automate their allowance as well as teach financial education tasks, so that we termed the word like Zogo paycheck at some point, where we were like, okay, instead of just giving your money as an allowance, you have to like earn that allowance. Paycheck, you like learn about financial education. You like reflect on your transactions, you think about your spending, stuff like that, kind of having more technology enabled companies there. But it was like 2017, like we were two college kids. Like that's a bit, those are some businesses now, like Greenlight, if you've ever heard of Greenlight, like does that now. Step and Current are kind of in that space now too, but they're just not for parents really, they're just teen debit cards type of stuff. But like if that's the product, the app, like how can you meaningfully make impact, like meaningfully move forward towards that? It's like, okay, well, someone has to actually figure out how to make that all happen. Like you have to design that, and then also like have someone who understands how to like have a debit card, ship all of that, build the application. And then from the parent, like from the selling side, you have to have families, you've got to go to schools, you got to somehow wrangle together like beta earlier users. So either building product or selling product, right? Like, or people doing that. Like if they're not doing that, then the founder just needs to be like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Are they wasting my time as a founder to like, you know,
make
stuff like that? So I wish it was like, I wish I could say that we did like a really good job. Bolin did a very good job, I think, relative to like what stage of the business and life he was in. Like he did a fantastic job doing that. I was kind of just like trying to do my best, building stuff and being useful. And then so we had probably about 20 people in and out until it was eventually, it boiled down to 3 co-founders. It was like me, Bolin, and Simon, and then like and then kind of kept growing the team from there.
Nice. How many what idea, you said you started with the teen debit card, how many ideas did you go through until you reached what Zogo finally was?
Yeah, we spent two and a half years, probably something like that. So the original idea was teen debit card. We had designs for that, like Bolin was pitching that all the time. And then we went to what was effectively like a task and chore app. No card. Our idea was like, hey,
you get paid to do stuff.
You get paid to do stuff. Yeah. We didn't ever set up ACH transfers, but we had built the app. It was on the App Store.